Hello, hello, hello. It's your girl Kathleen, aka Kasorin, aka Sorin, and welcome to Sorin's Soapbox. Yes. Here on Sorin's Soapbox is where we rant about love, life, and the pursuit of music. Get into it, get into it. All right, so I believe we are now on episode 5 now of Sorin's Soapbox. And we're just rolling right into it. And I'm excited about today's topic and just getting into what we'll be talking about today. Today is going to be a good episode. I think it's going to be a good episode. It's going to be complete opposite of last episode. Last episode was a very personal, a very transparent, but a very real episode that, again, it could be taken either way, but I felt the need to really just put it out there. For those who have listened to the episode, for those who have showed love and feedback, I thank you, I thank you, I thank you. It means so much to me because putting yourself out there in the public for basically crucifixion, it's a very tough thing to do. But I just felt very led to share my story about me being essentially swindled, bamboozled, hoodwinked, led astray. I felt the need to share my story. And again, I hope that whether you have a similar story or a situation that may be with a boyfriend or a family member or anyone who's taken advantage of you, the key takeaway from the last episode is just that it's never too late to say enough is enough and to get out. That's definitely the key takeaway from the last episode. So either way, I'm just so thankful. I'm glad to be able to just share my story with all of you. So for today's episode, I'm definitely excited. We're going to try and go a little light. We're going to try and not go as deep and as dark. Today's still going to be very, transparent. And I'm still going to talk about the things that are on my mind and on my heart and on my spirit, which is basically the purpose of this podcast, is for me to just get on my soapbox and rant about the things that are important to me. And I hope that in hearing the things that are important to me, maybe they're equally as important to you, or maybe they cause you to think a bit or see things from a different perspective. Because I think that's also important, is that we understand that not everyone has the same lens as we do, that not everyone has the same walk of life as we do and experience things the same way we do. I know for me, sometimes I can kind of get caught up in my own tunnel vision and see life according to my perspective. And so when someone introduces something new to me, I'm like, wow, I've never seen it that way, or I've never thought about it that way. And I think that's what's so important about life in general. So that's the purpose really behind this podcast, is that yes, I rant about things, and most of them have been about me personally and my life experience. But I hope that in sharing my life experience, you can relate, or you can connect, or even just understand, like, wow, that's not something I've ever experienced, but that's very interesting to know or to learn about. So anyways, I'm not going to rant about that in and of itself. We are going to get into today's episode. First and foremost, I want to say Happy Women's Month. We are out here and we are killing it. But I definitely have to give a shout out to the Black women. I'm a Black woman, so I'm going to have to give a shout out to the Black women and the POC women, okay? Because we are doing the dang thing out here. So yes, Happy Women's Month, but definitely a special shout out to all of my POCs, all of my POC women, because we carry so much on our shoulders as women that we don't need just 1 month. We honestly need every day. And so I just want to take the time to just give a special shout out to all of the beautiful women, or if you identify as a woman, I appreciate you. I love you. I'm thankful for you. You are loved. You are beautiful. You are worthy. You are amazing. You are creative. You are you are living your best life. And if you're not living it, you're on your way to living your best life. And I say that from the bottom of my heart to all the women out there. So I just wanted to give a shout out. Happy Women's Month. But again, especially to my POC women and to anyone who identifies as a woman. All right. So let us get into today's episode. But again, before we do, I know I keep going off on these little tangents. I'm sorry, y'all. Please make sure you are following me on all social media platforms. That's Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. My handle is Shameless Listo on all of those platforms. That is ShamelessListo. Please hit me up on all the social media platforms. I'd love to chat with you. I'd love to talk, find out just what you think about this episode today. I want to interact with you. I want to know what your thoughts are, not on just today's episode, but even past episodes. I want to interact with those who have been listening to my episode, especially since day one. I would love to know who my day one listeners are. I have a feeling I know who some of them are, but some of you guys, I can tell apparently that people are listening to my podcast. So I appreciate that and I'm thankful. So if you have been actively listening, please follow me on my socials and reach out to me. Send me a DM or send me a tweet. Or send me a post that you listened to today's episode or any of the past episodes. It means so much to me. So thank you. Kamsahamnida, merci beaucoup. All right. So today's episode is actually in conjunction with the fact that it is Women's Month. So I want to talk about the things Korea has taught me in the past 2 years. So, it's funny that I was actually having a conversation with someone not too long ago about, the dating apps and how, the negative things, like stay off the dating apps. The dating apps are trash. But I really sat down and thought about, I could sit here and think about the negative of like the dating apps and other experiences that I've had, especially like going through this panorama right now. But I also realized that since I've come to Korea, there's been one constant for me, and that is I no longer want to subscribe to being the strong Black woman. Korea's taught me that I don't have to be the strong Black woman, that I don't have to be the ride or die. And I know that's strange. Like, girl, what? What are you saying right now? Like, how did Korea teach you to not be a strong Black woman? And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about in what ways Korea has changed me to be the person that I am now, the lessons that I've learned, and just little nuggets that I've taken away. Especially, again, we're in the middle of this panini, and there's just been a lot of takeaways that I have gleaned since being here. And they've all kind of just added to one factor for me, that I no longer want to be known as the strong Black woman or the Black woman who's resilient and all of these things. Like, I don't want to carry those titles anymore. And so we're gonna talk about that. So going back, obviously, we're all in the middle of this parallelogram, honestly. We've all had to shift in how we look at life. We've had to really sit down and analyze what things are important to us, what things are not important to us, all of these things. And for me, coming to a brand new country, there were a lot of things that I needed to evaluate about myself. One of the things, obviously, by habit that came with COVID and being in another country is that I've learned to spend more time with myself. And in spending more time with myself, I've learned the things that I love about myself, the things I like about myself, and the things that, if I'm being honest, that I hate about myself. So if we're going through the list, one of the things that I love about myself is that I'm learning that I'm very creative. And it's funny, I never thought that I was like a creative person. That was never a title I've ever given myself. Even with starting this podcast, I was talking to my mentor and I was telling her that considering myself as a content creator is such a foreign concept to me. It feels so strange because I've always been someone who played a behind the scenes role for someone else. I've literally always been behind the scenes for other people. I've never been that person that was in front of something. If I've worked with, for example, talking about music, since that's part of my brand. Again, something strange I'm even saying, but I've worked with a lot of indie artists, independent artists. I would do promo for them and I would, do booking events and all of these things. But it wasn't me that was the face of any of it. I was in the background. I was sending emails. I was creating street teams or doing whatever. But I was always in the background and they were the face. And I was cool with that. I was fine with that. Like, I didn't need the spotlight. I didn't need for anyone to know my name. That wasn't important to me. But now being in the middle of polygraphy, I'm learning that I can use the same creative skills that I use for other people to essentially give them a boost for myself. And that's the crazy part. All of these skills that I had, I was using for other people. When I sat down, I was like, girl, you could use all of these skills and gifts for yourself. And that's how, I started thinking about starting this podcast. And I have a music blog that I do album reviews. I'm learning how to make music and produce, not, just different things. I decided I was going to start doing my own sip and paint. Like I talked about in the second episode, I want to start taking myself on solo dates. Like, I'm just learning that I'm very, very creative. Even in teaching, my teachers are very surprised at how I put together my lessons. And they're like, these are very different. And for me, I don't necessarily take credit for it. And I know that has to do with like imposter syndrome, because a lot of times I'm just like, oh, it's not really me. I just found a bunch of stuff online and I just put it together. But the reality is someone else might have put together a lesson and I take bits and pieces of it. So it's really not me taking from someone else and copying it word for word. I still made it my own and I still put my own creative twist on it. Something that I love about myself is that I'm truly a creative person. I think I just don't give myself enough credit for being creative, because I see other people, I'm like, nah, they're creative. Like, they made something out of nothing. They're creative. Since coming here, I've had to really give myself a pat on the back and say, girl, you in your bag right now. You doing this. So that's something I love about myself. Obviously, something that I like is that in having my me time, I like the fact that I'm comfortable being alone. And that might sound strange to say, but I've seen people that with dealing with COVID, they've had a hard time with being isolated and being alone and being by themselves, that they're like, oh, I need to have friends. I need to make friends. I need to get a boyfriend or a girlfriend or this, that, and the third. And I'm not saying none of that is wrong. I'm not saying none of that is bad. But I have learned I really enjoy being on my own. And the reason why I say that is because when I lived back home in the States, there was a point in time that I was quote unquote on my own. When I lived in Virginia, I went to college. I ended up staying there for a while. So I lived on my own. But I really wasn't on my own because I was constantly surrounded by people. So it wasn't the same. I lived on my own at some points. There were points where I lived by myself, but it wasn't really the same the way it is now, where here I'm like, you know what? I feel like watching anime today. So I'm going to sit and I'm going to watch anime and I'm going to cook me a nice little dinner. Or I'm like, you know what? Today I feel like, exercising, or I feel like creating a puzzle, or I used to do the adult coloring books, the ones that kind of help you with your anxiety and stress. I love those, okay? I love those. So I'll do those, or just I find random things that keep me occupied and I find enjoyable. So I like the fact that I enjoy being at home and I'm just at peace. And I think that's something else that Korea has taught me. And that, when you are a strong Black woman, you don't really know what peace feels like. So many times you're wrapped around, okay, I gotta do this and I gotta do that. And then I got 11 things on my mind. You're running around to and fro. The idea of being a strong Black woman is the fact that you can endure so much. You can go through so much. You can put so much weight on your back. The reality is, or the question is, are you at peace doing all of those? Are you at peace balancing, juggling 50 balls in the air at once? Are you at peace? I can't answer that for you. You will have to answer that. Maybe some people, work is what brings them joy and what brings them peace, which there's nothing wrong with that. But I feel like we've come from a society that is such hustle driven and hustle minded and work, like Rihanna says, that we we fail to realize that we don't stop to think, what are we doing this for? Are we working because everybody else is working? And if we're not working, we're deemed as lazy or incompetent or, this, that, and the third? Or are we actually working because maybe we want a better future for our children? Or the whole idea of retiring early, like that's such a nuance right now. Like everybody's like, oh, I want to retire by 30. But it's like, what you gonna do? Because let's be honest, you can retire by 30, but what are you going to do? You're going to sit at home all day? No. Yeah, okay, you may travel, but after a while, like you're traveling, but your friends can't go with you. And yeah, maybe you're like, oh, I don't need my friends, I could go by myself. But again, you traveling, you getting in and out of planes and stuff like that, living out of hotels. I'm not going to hold you. And this is coming from somebody who my dream goal is to have passport stamps. Like I'm trying to get passport stamps and collect them like Pokemon cards. You hear me? That's my goal. But it's just like, you retired at 30 and you just traveling. What does that do? What does that do? I feel like we're all designed to have purpose, but I feel like we confuse purpose with work, or we confuse purpose with busyness. It's like, you being busy, okay, cool, but what's your purpose in your busyness? Again, these are just things that I've learned since being in Korea, and that's with interacting with my coworkers, interacting with other people. Because I notice, like, when I talk to my kids and I ask them, like, what their dreams are, or I ask them, like, what their bucket list is, they don't have any of that because they're just so ingrained that education is important and you got to go to school and you got to get a good job, because when you get a good job, it means you get money. And when you get money, you can take care of your family. Again, I'm not knocking any of that. I am first generation Haitian American. If I know anything about hustle and work, it's in my blood. It's in my veins. Okay? My great grandmother, from what I hear, like she used to wake up 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, sit outside the front of her house, and she used to sell this, it's a Haitian dish called pate kode. Oh my God. Think of, if you're familiar with Haitian patties or Jamaican beef patties, it's kind of like that, except it's slightly bigger and it's filled with, you can have chicken or beef or fish, and it's got eggs, or I think you can even have hot dogs. Like it's a smorgasbord of just delicious goodness. But she used to make them every morning at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, because she had a lot of foot traffic in front of her house, and would sell them, and they would be gone by like 8 a.m. Okay, even maybe before then, because like they used to literally sell like hotcakes. So, she was busting her tail. My grandmother was busting her tail. She had her own little shops and she used to sell things in front of her house as well. Like she would have herself a little store and, sell random things. Like I couldn't tell you what my grandmother sold, because honestly, she sold everything. If she could figure out a way to resell it, she would do it. My grandmother would come and visit us to the States. I still have memories, and to this day, every Christmas, kids normally they tear off the wrapping paper off of gifts. I couldn't do that as a kid because my grandmother told us that we had to carefully tear the wrapping paper because she liked them so much. I thought it was because she thought they were pretty. Child, no. Homegirl was taking them Johns back to Haiti and reselling them. For what? Mbakone. I don't know. But she was taking them Johns and she was like, nah, these is real nice paper. I'm going to wrap these up and put them in my suitcase and I'm going to take them back to Haiti and I know what to do with them. Girl used to come in and just, oh, do you still use this bag? Do you still use, when I say a true hustler, okay? My mama, the same. My mom used to work in the hospital. She would work 16-hour shifts, come home, take a nap, take care of me and my sister, turn around, do private duty. You know what I mean? It's ingrained in me to see busyness and see hustle and see work. Coming here, and again, all of that's still in me. All of that, like I said, I'm gonna make $1 out of 15 cents, okay? I'm gonna figure out a way to make a way. But the fact of the matter is, I realized that making myself so busy without having a purpose is futile. It's pointless because you literally dig yourself an early grave. And people may not think that, but you are digging yourself an early grave. So coming to Korea, I really just learned how to just have peace. Peace in the fact that I'm at home. Peace in the fact that I don't gotta be busy all the dang time. And I still struggle with that. Because there are days I feel like, okay, I gotta do this, and this. And it's just like, girl, take a nap. Relax. Kick off your shoes and relax your feet. Legitimately, I have to tell myself, girl, you do what you can, and then whatever you can't, leave to the next day. And that kind of goes into what I hate about myself. What I hate about myself, and hate is a strong word, so I'm just going to say what I dislike about myself, is that I feel like I have to constantly be doing something all the time. And again, I have to learn how to navigate in that peace. But also, I learned that I'm a very anxious person and I stress about imaginary people. I stress about the they. The they are the people that you're like, well, what if they don't like this? Or what if they say something negative? Or what if they, who is they? Who is they? They don't have names. They don't even have faces. But I'm so stuck on the imaginary they and what they're going to say, what they're going to do, what they're going to think. And at the end of the day, it's irrelevant. It doesn't matter at all. So that's the thing about me that I dislike, is that I'm so focused on the they that I really had to get in myself and be like, girl, my favorite scripture is, do not be anxious for anything, but in everything with prayer and supplication, make your requests to God. And I had to really just be like, girl, by worrying about this, what changes? What actually changes? And the reality is nothing. Nada. Yeah. I worry, and the only thing that changes is my heart rate. And I have an Apple Watch, and it'll tell me, girl, your heart rate is up. So that's the only thing that changes by me worrying or stressing is my heart rate. Nothing else actually changes by me stressing and worrying. The situation doesn't change. Nothing. So I'm just like, girl, let tomorrow worry about itself. You're missing out on being present. You're missing out on being present and in the moment. And that's actually the second thing that Korea taught me. Korea taught me to just be in the moment about life, because I was so excited to come to Korea, and because, this was an answered prayer. And a lot of times what happens is we get an answer from God, or if you believe in the universe, whatever you believe in. I believe in God, so I'm just going to speak from a Christian perspective. When you get an answer from God, you get so excited, but then your mind starts thinking about the next thing. So it's like, okay, I'm in Korea. I'm excited. Oh my God. Like, I really want to do this, that, and the third. So, like, I'm a teacher right now. But, like, in 5 years, I want to transition out of being a teacher. And I want to do da-da-da-da-da-da-da. You already took yourself out of the moment. You can't appreciate it. You can't be grateful. You can't be thankful. You can't do none of that. And being here in Korea, I have learned just enjoy the moment. Be in this season that you're in, because we're always worried about the next season instead of focusing on this season. And there's so many gems, there's so many lessons to learn in the season that you're currently in. And we have a tendency to miss it because we're so focused and trying to rush to the next season of our lives, which is why, like, I've made it perfectly clear, I'm single, but I feel bad for like people who are dating and they're like, oh, when are y'all gonna get engaged? Oh, when are y'all gonna get married? Oh, when are y'all gonna have a baby? Stop rushing people's seasons because they miss out on so much because you're so focused on going from one season to the next. Let people enjoy, and I'm just using the dating example because that's one that most of us can pretty much relate to. Let people enjoy being boyfriend and girlfriend, because there's things that being boyfriend and girlfriend that you're going to experience that you're not going to experience when you're like engaged. Yes, there are certain things that hopefully if you have a very healthy relationship, they should continue through all the processes, but there's certain things that only happen when you're dating. There are certain interactions, there are certain emotions, there are certain feelings. You only experience them for the first time when you're dating. Once you're engaged, those feelings have gone away. You're now feeling something new. So if you never got a chance to really embrace and sit in that season of dating, and you sit in that season of being engaged, and you sit in that season of being married, then you miss out on so much. Now, for the people who be engaged for like 10, 12 years, again, I don't be judging, but I side eye. That's a whole different situation. But the fact of the matter is, the theme here is, I feel like we have a tendency to just rush into our next season all the time. And Korea has taught me, girl, you are here. And there are many times I walk through the hallways of my school or I'm traveling on the bus somewhere and I just have a flashback moment in my mind like, girl, you are really in Korea. You are legitimately in Korea. This at one point was a prayer and now it is a reality. Like, that's why I said it's important to really enjoy the seasons, because you'll miss out on the moments that there was something you prayed for and you got it and you skip it because you're just like, oh, on to the next, on to the next, on to the next. Really slow down. I know we live in this world where it's like YOLO, but really think about it. You do only have one life. You do only live once. So why not take it slow? Enjoy, savor each moment, savor the opportunities and the experiences that you have, especially if you can, and it doesn't have to be rushed and it doesn't have to be taken away from you. So that's just my feeling on that whole thing, is that I really just learned to be able to move a little differently and just be like, okay, let me be present in that moment. And something else Korea has taught me is be comfortable stepping outside of my comfort zone. And that might sound like a duh, girl, you came to a whole different country. Of course you stepped out of your comfort zone. But even in that, coming here, there was a certain level of having to step out of my comfort zone that I still was like apprehensive about. Because yes, I could say, okay, coming to a whole country, that in and of itself was me stepping out of my comfort zone. But I had to go beyond that. For example, this is kind of me personally, I have the fear of the word no. And it's just deep rooted. If I'm being honest, I know where it stems from. It stems from a childhood trauma, but I'm afraid of people telling me no. So I don't ask for certain things. Again, that's all tied into that strong black woman. Oh, I don't need nobody. I got this. I'm not gonna ask nobody, because if somebody tells me no, then I gotta be left. Like, I don't want to do that. For me, I am afraid of hearing the word no, because then that puts me in a state of vulnerability. First of all, it took me a lot of courage. It took me a lot of guts to ask you in the first place. And then for you to turn around and tell me no, I will never ask nothing again. I will never ask you nothing, not a ever. You ain't ever gonna see my face. And I'm mad dramatic with it. I will never ask you a daggone thing again. You tell me no. So for me, I am afraid to ask things, because I'm like, what if they tell me no, this, that, and the third? And it's just like, okay, but what if they told you yes? That's when I was like, girl, you know how many opportunities? It's why I don't want to be known as the strong black woman anymore. I don't want to be known as resilient, because the strong black woman to me means I don't ask for help. I can do this by myself. All my women who independent, put your hand down. I'm putting my hand down. I'm putting my hand down. Because I don't want to be an independent, strong black woman. I want to ask for help. I want to ask for people to assist me. We were built for community. We were built to have connections. We were built to have a village. That's what our ancestors had. Our ancestors had villages where they helped each other. That's why the phrase goes, it takes a village to raise a family or raise a child. Why? Because we weren't built to do this thing called life by ourselves. We were built to do it with other people. And so I'm realizing that I have to step out of my comfort zone and ask people for things. Especially, like, I'm here by myself. I'm a foreigner. I have no choice. There's literally certain things I cannot do because I don't have the equipment, I don't have the tools, I don't have the language to do it. Do you know how humbling that is for someone who is used to doing things on her own? I don't need nobody. I got this on my own. I got this. To coming here and literally being essentially the mercy of other people. I'm not going to say mercy, the kindness of other people. Because in seeing the kindness of other people, I recognize that, girl, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay if you're struggling and say, hey, I can't do this. Can you help me with this? And 9 times out of 10, the person's going to say yes. Why? Because especially if you ask in a sincere way. And if they can't do it, I guarantee you they know somebody who can. And that's been my experience. Is I'll ask somebody if they could do something. They'll either say, yes, I got you, or I can't really do it. Can I do it at another time? Or I don't know how to do it, but I'll find someone who can. That's when I started realizing, like, girl, there's no reason to be afraid of no or an imaginary no. Because if somebody tells me no, does the world stop? No, it still keeps spinning. Do I drop dead when somebody says no? And I'm being dramatic, but that's just my personality. Do I drop dead? No, I'm still alive? Okay, my pride might be hurt a little bit. My feelings might be hurt a little bit. But, like Aaliyah said, pick yourself up and try again. I realized somebody telling me no changes nothing. Only thing it does is it leads me to the next person who will say yes. Because you can only get so many no's before a yes finally comes through. And that's a very key lesson that I learned here, is that I can't be afraid of a no. Shoot, finding my mentor. I was afraid to ask for a mentor because I was afraid they were going to say no. And I had no logical reason to believe they would say no. There was only going to be 2 logical responses. Either 1, I'm sorry, but I don't have the time capacity to do it. Or two, yes, I'd love to take you on as a mentor, as a mentee, excuse me. Literally, like, I remember going through dread over it. Like, I really want this person to be my mentor. Oh my God. Like, mulling over it. And it was just like, girl, as my friend Nat would say, girl, just do the thing. Do the thing. So I was just like, girl, just go ahead and ask them. And sure enough, they said yes. And as a matter of fact, she does regular mentorship programs. So it just happened to work out. And a year later, they are my mentor. They have been helping me. And shoot, they are the reason why I have this podcast. Even down to the midnight hour. This podcast almost didn't happen if it wasn't for my mentor. So just imagine, had I been so afraid of saying no, of the word no, just imagine if I was so afraid of the word no, I wouldn't have met my mentor, they wouldn't have poured into me, and I wouldn't have this podcast. Do you see how all of those pieces just fit together? I'm telling you, man, God just be working in mysterious ways. That's all I know. But yeah, so it's just, I've learned to step out of my comfort zone. And not only just with that, but also like what I talked about in my dating episode. I've learned to step out of my comfort zone and doing solo dates, spending time with me. Because again, specifically when I lived in Virginia, I lived alone at certain points, but I was always surrounded by people. I was always doing something with somebody else. Either me and my church friends, we were all get together and going out to eat, or we were taking road trips, or if it wasn't a group of us, me and my roommate definitely at the time, we were always taking random trips. We would take random trips places. We'd be like, girl, you want to just go do something? We'd jump in the car and just go. We'd be like, you know what? I really want to have breakfast at this one spot that was like 2 hours away. Let's do it. We just did random sporadic trips. So there was never really a time that I was by myself. I lived by myself, but I never felt like I was by myself because I was always surrounded by people. So there wasn't those sitting at a restaurant eating by myself or going to the movie theaters by myself or visiting a museum. Like none of those things happened because again, I was always surrounded by people. So I never really knew how to date myself or spend time with me. This is the first time in my entire life that I've literally have just me, myself, and I'm having to just enjoy my own company. And that's okay. That's perfectly okay. I don't think there's anything wrong with learning that you can enjoy your own company. Because like I said, I've learned a lot about myself in the time that I just kind of chill and relax and things like that. And again, I will in a future episode talk about, making friends here and what that's like. But I rather enjoy my solo time. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think being able to sit down, especially when you can sit down and reflect and think about your week or what kind of person you are or your goals or just life and have some self-reflection moments, I think those are very important because once you can kind of understand yourself and your moods, you can then learn to communicate those things to other people. Because the more time I spend by myself and evaluating myself, I can communicate my feelings to other people and say like, oh, I don't like this. And the reason why I don't like this is because of X, Y, and Z. Or I learned that I really, really love this because of blah, 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 blah. So I've learned that I've been able to really communicate my feelings and what may irk me or bring me joy because I see myself in those moments because I'm like, okay, hold up. Why did you react like that? Why did you get mad? Like, let's stop, take a minute, assess. Let's figure out why this all happened the way that it did. So that's just something that I enjoy. And I think the last thing that I'm gonna cover in terms of like what Korea's taught me and what's kind of like, again, solidify where I really just don't want to be like the ride or die anymore, the strong black woman, where I really just want to flow in my femininity. I want to be considered soft. I want to be considered delicate. I want to be looked at as a flower. And people look at me and they say, that's somebody that you have to nurture and you have to grow. And, you don't treat flowers all rough and tough and things like that. Like, you got to water it. Or if you have like at home flowers, like, you got to make sure you take care of your plants and you got to change the water regularly and you got to do all of these things. Like, there is maintenance that needs to be done, but you're not rough with flowers and plants. They need love. They need care. They need affection. And I feel like as black women, we get looked at like we don't need any of those things because, oh, she's strong and, she been through so much. Okay. And I'm tired. I'm fatigued. Like, I don't want to keep doing this anymore. I don't want to have to keep pretending that I'm okay when I'm not. I want to be able to say like, yo, I'm not okay. This is too much. Like, I can't keep carrying this anymore. Like, I don't want to put all this weight on me. Because I feel like when you tell people you're resilient, or when people say you're resilient and you're a strong black woman, they get this mentality that they can just add to your load and add to your plate. Because, oh, she can handle it. Oh, she got this. Yes, maybe I am like a rubber band, and if you stretch me so far, I'll still snap back. But it's like, that still doesn't mean keep pulling me in all types of directions because you think I'm not going to break. Like, at some point or another, I will break. So I have to be real with myself and realize like other race of women get to be seen as soft, like I said, delicate and feminine. And yet for us as black women, we don't get that same notion. We don't get that same perspective. Even when you think about like movies and things like that, they don't portray us like that. We don't ever get the chance to be the damsel in distress. I mean, I ain't no damsel in distress, please. You will not find me as like the woman in the cast in the tower that you gotta save. But we don't get seen as the damsel in distress. Like, prime example, Princess and the Frog. I mean, I got a few different issues with Princess Tiana, but I respect it because it's the first black princess that we got. So I'm here for Princess Tiana. But sis was working hard. She was an independent black woman, strong. I don't need no man because I'm going to open up my business and I'm going to do this, that, and the third. We didn't get that with Ariel. We didn't get that with Belle. We didn't get that narrative with Snow White. Cinderella, yes, was busting her tail, but as soon as a prince came in and scooped her up, that girl said, I'm done cleaning. We gonna hire a maid for that. And even that life, she didn't choose it. She had a wicked stepmother. Literally, if you look at all of, and I'm just using Disney princesses because that's easily relatable and I love Disney. But like, Princess Tiana, that girl was working in the kitchen, she was doing this, and then she was going home and making gumbo for the entire neighborhood. Like, that girl was working. She was working her tail off. And then she was working for, not only that, but she was working for that debutante girl. Like, that girl was busting her tail. So that lets me know that it's a universal idea that we're strong, hardworking women. We can go through anything. We can handle everything because we're just built for this. No. I'm not built for it tough. No. I don't want to do this. I've refused to be looked at as a strong black woman, especially not in Women's History Month. No. I love the transition that we're making now, seeing black women in luxury, implementing self-care, recognizing like, oh, that no longer serves me. I'm not doing that because that's necessary. We don't have to be in struggle no more. We don't have to keep carrying all these loads. I started just weighing what's considered a glass ball and what's not. And in that necessary analogy is like, think of it as like you're juggling different things. You're juggling work, you're juggling life, you're juggling your friends, you're juggling businesses, whatever. Think of all the things that you're essentially juggling in your life. And my sister and I have this conversation all the time. And we have to do like a check-in and be like, the things that you're juggling right now, what's a glass ball? What's a plexiglass ball? And what's a plastic ball? And we use that analogy because the things that are plastic are the things that don't matter. The things that we feel like are so important, oh, I gotta, just random things. Oh, I gotta make sure that I do laundry and I clean and I gotta make sure I cook dinner and I gotta make sure that the house is in order and this, that, and the third. And you ain't got no guests coming over. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with having a clean house. But at the same time, you have some people, they just get, oh my God, I gotta do this and I gotta do this and then I got 30. And it's like, it's just really irrelevant. And it's not going to matter if you put that ball down. Like, it's plastic. It's not going to break. It's perfectly fine. But, think about the things that just don't matter. Then you have your plexiglass. Plexiglass, it's heavy. It feels like glass. But the reality is, it's not necessarily unimportant, but it's not exactly extremely important. It's kind of like, meh. So those you have to sit down and decide what's important, what's not. And then lastly, but most importantly, you have your glass ball. These are the things like your family that are important, your friends, your health. This could be your career, but within reason. So like a plastic could be like you have 50 emails and you're like, oh, I gotta answer all these emails like right now. And it's like, what emails are actually important? Because 9 times out of 10, those emails are going to be here tomorrow. So you really don't need to juggle all those emails. You can put them down. Or if there's emails you can delegate, because sometimes that's something else. We have a tendency, especially Black women, we have a tendency to feel like we're the only ones that could do a certain job. And we are afraid to delegate jobs to other people. So really ask yourself, like, are all those emails, do they really have to get done today? Or can you get some done today and then leave the rest for tomorrow? That's a plastic ball. A plexiglass could be, a certain deadline. Okay, you have a deadline for a project or a home renovations or something or another. You're like, I have something. It's not pressing, but it's in the back of your mind that it has to get done, right? So do what you can little by little so you're not overwhelmed. So let's just say the deadline is March 30th. If you do like a little bit today, a little bit tomorrow, by the time March 30th comes around, or maybe March 30th is too far, but whatever. If you can do a little bit at a time, next thing you know, like, oh, wow, I finished it. But instead of just like, oh my God, I gotta do all of it today. Like, girl, you got time. Chill. And then, like I said, the glass balls are the ones that are important that you have to cater to, that you can't drop. Because if you drop them, for sure life is going to be in shambles. Like I said, that's your family, that's your close-knit friends, that's your personal life, that's your if you're doing your business, there's certain aspects of your business that for sure, okay, I can't drop this because if I drop this, like I can't pay my mortgage, my kid's not going to eat this. There's certain aspects of your business that, yes, they're glass balls and you have to make sure that they're in line. But there's other aspects of it, like I said, like emails, certain deadlines, like, okay, you can just map out your schedule and get them done. And I feel like we just stress ourselves to the nth power about things that are just irrelevant. So I've just taken a look and been like, what is a glass ball? What's a plexiglass? And what is plastic? And all of that came about, just like random things as far as like why I believe in peace. Again, it all goes back to that peace. Because I'm not trying to be a strong Black woman. I'm not. But going back to, I know I did a little rant around there, but going back to the last thing that Korea's taught me, this is actually very specific, but Korea taught me about my love language. The love languages, I believe, words of affirmation, quality time, gifts, acts of service, and physical touch, if I'm not mistaken. I believe those are the 5. So my number 1 and my number 2 are acts of service and words of affirmation, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, words of affirmation. And my top 3 are Acts of service, words of affirmation, and quality time. Physical touch is last. Don't touch me. Okay? Don't touch me. Like, I'm not a touchy-feely person. I never have. I've never been. Even with my own family. My sister will intentionally, like, purposely come in my room. She'll hold my hand and just look at me. And she knows, like, that annoys the crap out of me. I'm like, girl, what are you doing? And she's like, I know this annoys you. I'm like, stop touching me. I do not like being touched at all. I'm the type of person, I'll give you a hug. Don't get me wrong. We got to be like really, really good friends for me to hug you. I'm just not a personal touch. Acts of service. I love acts of service. Like, you do something for me, especially like to help me or ease my stress or pain. I don't know. It speaks volumes. But I say that, but Korea has changed my whole perspective of my love language, because I realized that, first and foremost, the reality is we need all of the love languages. It's just that some of them speak to us a lot more than others. So I used to always think of love languages as like, oh, these are the only ones I need and the rest of them don't matter. But as I've gotten older, I realized that no, we need all five. It's just that they all speak to us in varying degrees. So for me, like I said, physical touch has always been like the lesser degree than, say, words of affirmation. You know, when someone speaks life into me, when someone pours into me, tells me certain things, you know, those speak to me. But since coming here, I'm not gonna lie to you, physical touch has been, I can't say it's moved up from the list. I still think it's last. But I recognize that I think I feel differently about physical touch than I used to. Because I told you, for me, it'd be like, unhand me, you ruffian. Like, don't touch me. Don't touch me. But in Korean society, it's really not uncommon for you to see like two girls holding hands or two guys holding hands. And it's just more like a communal thing, you know, like brotherly love, sisterly love. Like, Koreans really have this community, family type of ideology really ingrained in them. So, you know, like in my hallway, I'll see my girl students like locked arm in arm walking down the hallway, or I'll see the guys, you know, holding hands and they're like swinging their hands back and forth and they're like walking down the hallway. Like, it's not uncommon. Or it's not uncommon to see two old men sitting on the subway and they're, you know, holding hands, or they're talking and they're very affectionate towards each other, and there's nothing strange or weird about that. You know, coming here, naturally people try, you know, would touch me. They would grab my hand, or they would touch like the back of my arm to kind of like tell me to indicate to like follow them, or like, you know, come with me type of thing. And my, you know, initial reaction would be like, hey, don't touch me. Not physically say it, like I wouldn't verbally say it, but I'm from Jersey and I'm Haitian. Like, no, don't put your hands on me. But, you know, so that was kind of like my initial response is like, everybody keeps putting their hands on me. Like, everybody keeps touching me. Like, and especially my students, like my students would like come and they would hold my hand and they would want to hug me and this, that, and the third. Now it's just gotten to the point where like I'm ashamed. I actually enjoy it. Because it's kind of almost like they care about me. Like, oh wow, they, you know, felt comfortable enough to like put their hand on my arm, or they felt comfortable enough to give me a hug or hold my hand. And it kind of lets me know like, oh, they care about me in that sense of physical touch. Like, even I had a student, you know, come and like hug me, took me by surprise, but they were just like, oh, I really missed you, because we're back in school, and it took me by surprise. But I was just like, wow, I didn't realize that I don't know. I don't want to say like I guess we all long for physical touch, especially like COVID. COVID has kind of taken that away from us. Physical touch was never something I ever cared for. It was never something that was like, oh my God, I need somebody to hold my hand, or As long as you in the same room with me, like I was good. We can be sitting next to each other, like I can put my head on your shoulder or whatever. But it was never something like that I felt like was a love language for me until, like I said, coming here. And my students have really, like, I would attribute this specifically to my students. My students have changed my love language in the sense that I realize, again, I need all of them, not necessarily one more than the other, and how they all are interconnected. Because even gifts, for example, for me, it's not necessarily the gift itself that, gets me excited or is important to me. What I appreciate about the gift is that I was on your mind when you got me this item, or you made this thing, or whatever the gift is. That's what kind of gets me all weepy-eyed and emotional, is the fact that you saw this Funko Pop. I love Funko Pop, so I'm going to use that example. You saw this Funko Pop and you're like, oh, I know Kathleen would love this Funko Pop. Hasn't she been talking about this for a while? Or doesn't she love this movie or this show or this anime? I'm going to get it for her. That right there, man, will send me to tears. Because it's the fact that I was on your mind when you got me this gift. You saw this gift and you said, I'm going to get this for Kathleen. I'm going to get this for her. That to me is the best feeling in the world. So, words of affirmation, again, I love somebody pouring into me. Acts of service, when people are like, well, how can I help you? In what ways can I make this situation better for you, easier for you? Again, I could easily go into the strong Black woman narrative and be like, oh, don't worry about it, I got it. Which I would normally. But now I'm just like, oh, you want to help me? Psh, let me pulls out scroll. Let me see what you can do. Let me see how you can help me. Because, baby, I ain't trying to do it. That's probably the last thing I want to cover, is that last thing Korea has taught me that has also solidified the fact that I no longer want to be a strong Black woman, is that it's changed my love language. I know that may sound like, oh, how do the two connect? But like I said, in being a strong Black woman, I'm just so used to doing things on my own, having to carry so much weight, having to be independent and hide my emotions and wear a mask and wear armor. Wear armor because I'm not allowed to feel, I'm not allowed to be, I'm not allowed to do anything. I'm not allowed to be human. And that's why I said, this season of my life and forevermore, don't call me a strong Black woman. Don't call me your ride or die, because that's something else. I realized I was riding and dying for people who wouldn't even step over a puddle for me. So that's a dead end gone. I was riding and dying for people who couldn't even drive in the first place and driving maniacally all over the road. I was riding and dying for people who were leeches in my life. I was riding and dying for people who were selfish and cared nothing about me and only cared for themselves. So anybody who used to know me, especially like college days and even a little bit beyond that, they used to be like, oh yeah, Kathleen a ride or die. Sodian's a ride or die. Not no more. I'm not. Don't associate ride or die with me no more. That's dead. I will never do it again. I will never be that person again, because it's exhausting. You're the only person that's really putting all the effort in there, and you're basically expendable. Like, that's what it says to me, is that you're expendable, because you're putting me in a situation that I have to question whether I'm really gonna make it through this or not. And I don't want to do that. Like, there's nothing cute about being a ride or die. There's something cute about loyalty, yes. There's absolutely something important about loyalty, but being a ride or die, I think there's a very big difference between being a ride or die and being loyal. And even being loyal, like being a ride or die to me is being loyal without a fault. Like, you don't ask no questions, you don't ask nothing. Being loyal, I can still check you and be like, I love you, but I don't think this is a good idea. I don't think that's good for you. I don't think that's authentically you. I don't think that this suits you, or I don't think you should be going down this path, or X, Y, and D. Being a ride or die, you don't ask questions. And I've learned to ask questions. Where are we going? Who gonna be there? Is there gonna be food? Like, what we eating? Like, I got questions. So I realized I can't be a ride or die, because trying to be loyal to a fault and not ask questions has gotten me in trouble, as per my last episode. So I'm not gonna do that no more. I'm done with that. But I'm gonna go ahead and conclude this. I don't want this to be too long. I am thankful, as always, for my time and my experience here in Korea. I don't know how long it'll be. Maybe it could be a couple of forevers. Maybe it could be only, 2-3 more years. I don't know. But I am really appreciative of the woman that I am today, because I've learned to release a lot of the stigmas and a lot of the stereotypes that have been put on me because of what I look like, because of who I am, and just say, I rebuke that in Jesus' name. I will be a delicate flower. I will be soft. I will be feminine. I will flourish in all that. I will be a Black woman in luxury. I will be a woman who relishes in self-care. I will be a woman who takes a nap regularly, because rest is self-care. Therapy is self-care. I will be all of these things. That's just where we are with that. But I am going to just wrap it up here, because at the end of the day, I feel like that's what's important. That's what's important, is just learning how to be a better woman to yourself at the end of the day. And I know I'm specifically speaking to women, and I know I may have men who listen, but again, it's Women's Month, and I just really want to speak to my POC women, especially my Black women, is find what brings you peace. Not feel like you have to be hustling and bustling and moving all about, and you're doing it just for the sake of being, like, you're being busy for the sake of being busy, and there's no purpose in it. You're not operating in your purpose. You're not operating in your divine gifts. I'm going to end it with that. Again, thank you so much for listening to today's episode. Again, if you wish to follow me on all social media platforms, I am Shameless Listo on all platforms. That's Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And please leave a review wherever you listen to this episode, whether on Apple, on Spotify, Amazon, or Google, or Podbean, which is my main host. Please leave a rating and leave a review. It means so much to me as a small content creator. I would really, really appreciate it. It means a lot. So I thank you guys so much. And until next time, your girl is off her soapbox. See ya.